Here's my shop 10 years ago, and that same angle today. Again, 10 years ago, same angle today. The one thing I couldn't fix was the constant ant trails that lead up to the shop, but it's always nice to have someone that welcomes you every day so you can get in the shop, look around at everything that's good and wonderful in this shop, and get to work on today's shop tour. Welcome. So the first stop on my tour is this corner, which I lovingly call my groffice because it's where my computer is, so I can do all my editing and also set up any files for my shaper, do all that kind of stuff, answer emails, check YouTube, anything like that. Above that are Buffalo Bills highlights because I have an oversized TV, which is absolutely necessary in a shop. Then next to that is a drill storage area, a Buffalo Bills logo behind that, and then all sorts of other kind of elements. So I have some hand planes. I have Felix Hernandez. After he won the Cy Young, I got a little one of those small head creature things. Above that, and this is one of the nicest parts of the shop, and it's something I would encourage if you're watching this because you're thinking about maybe switching up your shop, is I have a rack that basically stores all sorts of different boxes of tools, things that I don't use every day, but that I need really quickly. And I can easily reach up there, grab those, and then take those out to the job site or take those to wherever I need to around the shop. So that brings us to our first small shop tip, which is to think about zones in your shop. Now, in any hobbyist's shop, space is always a premium. So you want to think about having different zones, a lower, a middle, and an upper zone when you lay out the perimeter of your shop. That lower zone is where you're going to store all sorts of things that you want to grab really quickly, or you want to just kind of keep out of the way, maybe a shop vac, maybe a tarp, something like that. Just things that you don't really need, or things in drawers that you want to have quick access to. Then there's a middle zone. That middle zone is your active zone. That's where you need things right away because you're working on things. It's your bench top, it's your assembly tabletop, it is the top of your big tools. You want to make sure that that's a space that you can keep clean if you need to keep it clean, or you can work on things if you need to work on things. And lastly is the upper zone. Now this is where I keep things that I don't need right away, but I do want to have access to. So I have like a coil nailer, I have an impact drill, things that I want every now and then for different jobs. If you're interested in how I built this, it's a really simple process and I detailed it in a video about how I renovated the south side of my shop just using the stuff that was already there. All right, back to the tour. One thing that's been really nice is using one of these label makers, simple label makers, and putting on what's in each drawer, and then I can switch that out when I inevitably switch up what's in the drawer. So I have screwdrivers, here I have my photography stuff, but if you don't want people to know what is in there, you could say disease instead, and then I'm sure if someone, decides to break in, they're gonna steal all your other stuff, and then they're gonna look in your disease drawer and say, I don't want that, I don't want any of that. I'm not gonna walk you through each drawer. I've seen shop tours like that, and that's usually the part I skip by. And above the drawers, I have stickers, levels, and a furry friend I call Phil, who is always ready to bite me in a playful way, and he keeps the shop kind of clean of bugs, kind of. Over here, like I told you before, I have a bandsaw, I have a drill press, and then I have my shaper workstation. This has been a really nice addition. When I switch things around, I put this shaper workstation over here, which is great because I used to kind of pull it out, set it down, and have to do that every single time. Now it lives here. My shaper lives below the drill press, and I'm able to just pull that up and make whatever I want there. I am a big fan of this. This has been a big upgrade for me. This is the Jet JDP12 drill press. It has worked really well. It also has the Hot Ones logo on here because I love hot sauce. In case you just want to share, you just want to send it to me somehow through YouTube. It's adjustable, and that was one of the biggest things I wanted. And you don't have to change out the belt inside. You can just adjust through this lever on the side. And that was something I was looking for, and it seemed like it was only available in really expensive high-end drill presses. But this one is, first of all, just basically bench top. And then it also has that adjustability. So I'm a big fan of this. It's worked out really well for me. A wonderful upgrade. If you like my neon light, you can get that from China, and they kind of spell buffalo on there. It looks more like bulo, and then that's supposed to be, I think, Labatt Blue light, but it doesn't quite look right. So it's a lovely knockoff that was not too expensive, and you can get probably a whole bunch of them for almost nothing. Over here I have a Rikon bandsaw, and this thing's the 14-inch 10-324 TG. Wow, that's a mouthful. And it's worked really well. I've gotten a couple resaw blades. It seems to have plenty of power. The stand I have it on right now, which you can't really see on the casters, is nice because I can move it around, but it's a little bit tipsy, so don't, anyway. I did have it kind of fall on me once, but I survived, clearly. Behind that, there are some clamps. My clamp strategy, because people like to watch these for strategies, is to just get them up out of the way and off the ground so I don't trip on them. This has worked well. I don't use these pipe clamps as often, but when I do, I can easily grab those. I do use these little gripping DeWalt clamps, these hand clamps that are those kind of fast action ones. I use these a lot, and just having them up here on this rack is really good. I can easily access those really quickly. That's this corner. Woo. From that corner, we come to this area, which is kind of wood storage, as you can see, some sheet goods, and then behind the sheet goods is my dust vac. Now, this is an adapted Harbor Freight shop vac that I added a Rockler dust filter to try to kind of increase the power of it. And then I also added a canister that has some plexiglass on it so you can see how full it is. It's worked pretty well for a small shop. Again, this isn't huge by any means, but it's pumped just in with one arm here that reaches out, and I basically have a flexible hose that I can move around the shop and attach to all the different tools. Next to it are sheet goods, and then below it are spare tires for the car, because this is a house. It's not a full-time shop. This works fine for the sheet goods because I can bring them in through the door and haul them back here. And I sometimes need to cut them down just to make sure it's the right size. So I'm not someone who has just a ton of sheet goods on hand. I try to buy what I need for each project. I do have on hand kind of a bunch of smaller pieces of wood that come in handy for projects, but usually, again, I go out and I buy whatever I need for a specific project, and then this ends up being kind of leftover stuff. Above that, I have a security camera, don't break in, and I have some filters and then some other things that I just need around the shop, some moving blankets, stuff like that. Coming around to this side of the shop, I have several of the bigger tools that I own that I get a lot of use out of. One is the Supermax 1632 drum sander. I placed that so it's in line with the bed of the chop saw just to save some space. When you buy it, it comes with a big stand, and if you have a small shop, that isn't really a great fit. So putting it in line with the chop saw works well because most of the time I can just raise this thing up, and then that way it creates more of a platform for the chop saw when I'm doing any rough cutting. This thing is terrible. I do not recommend this rigid, but it does work just to do some rough cut to dimensional width, and that's really all I use it for. Otherwise, it's really not square. I can't get it square. If you do know how to get it square, please let me know, because it has just been a disaster, and I will upgrade this thing next. That is my goal. Behind it, I have this kind of like building. It's just absurdly large, and I need to rebuild this whole side, but eventually I'll get to that. But it kind of stops some of the dust. I do have a shop vac down here that I plug into the back of the rigid, and I have dedicated dust collection by pushing this button. And everybody loves that sound. Below it, I have a couple drawers. You can see those perfect logos on there. But again, I'm not going to show you what's in the drawers, because, I mean, come on. Nobody wants to see what are in drawers. What are we doing? Poop again! But let me show you something that's kind of fun. In here, sometimes I shoot green screen things for YouTube or for what I do for my actual job. So what's nice is I have this little remote. I click this, and then down drops a fairly large screen that I can then clip a green screen to, which you can see right here. And I can shoot any of those green screen backdrops. I could also have family movie night in here, but it turns out not a lot of people like watching movies in a cold drafty, spider-riddled garage. So it works really well for backdrops. I can stop that, do all my shoot, do anything I need, and then put it back up with a click of a button. I don't have to have any kind of big easel, any kind of big A-frame to set stuff up on. I just have this, and I put it down when I need it, shoot the shot, and I'm good to go. So that's been really helpful, especially for those of you who like to show off what you do in the shop. Rotating to the south side of the shop. This is what you saw if you watched my video on renovating this and not spending a penny for it. This has been such a great addition because before this was kind of dark and it was very cramped, it got in the way, and now it displays things nicely. I'm able to grab a lot of things, and again, it has a bunch of drawers underneath for storage of different items. I was also able to put my sander here, which is really nice because I used to have to lift that out and place it on top of the workbench to get that going, and now I can just use it really easily right here. And then I also have my clamp storage back here. These I use a lot, and so I wanted to make sure they were easily accessible. I have them on French cleats so that I can just stack them back there and pull them off when needed. Moving around this desk so you can kind of see what's going on here, I wanted to make sure I have a lot of my measuring and marking tools easily accessible, and I can grab those and get to work however I need to do that. Additionally, I have drill bits, things like that. I have my Shaper Origin accessories box. If you saw that video, that is right here. Then I also have a 1 gallon cute little compressor that I use for pin nails especially. I end up using a lot of pin nails, and this thing's been really great for that stuff. It's also really good if you just want to do some, blowing off of dust or whatever. It's just the right size for that action. And no shop's complete without an assembly table. Mine has some 6-inch clamps on the end for quick clamping, and then also this T-track on the top for clamping down bigger pieces. On one side, I use it for open shelving for different poisonous liquids and things that could kill anyone, so I make sure to keep those low toward the ground where children could grab it. And then I have drawers on the other side, which, look, I'm showing you what's inside, but I'm not going to tell you about it because it's a drawer and there's just stuff everywhere. My favorite part of the shop is the table saw. It's a SawStop 1.75 horsepower professional cabinet saw. And a great addition to it that I added on the side was this pull-out table saw blade storage. It's on a drawer slide, and it works really well just to swap out those blades. Fully recommend it. On the end, I have an Incra router lift, and that's been amazing. I saw several videos on how to install these at the end of your SawStop, and it's worked really well. I don't use it a ton, but when I use it, it's amazing. And then the last thing I have is, I think, the best place for putting my 13-inch Rikon thickness planer. I really struggled with having a planer because it was always kind of in the way or I had to move it. And this was a great spot for it because it is out of the way, but it still works. Lastly, you saw there a convenient place to store my track saw tracks. A lot of people put those on the garage door or something like that. And I put them right under the outfeed table, and it works super well. And then lastly, in the darker corner of the shop, I have a few things here. Now, I use these all the time. These are like my safety things. I also have some safety things in here, some PPE, stuff like that. And then I have my dovetail jig for my router, and I have my work sharp sharpening station, which I've loved. This thing came out a long time ago, but it's new to me and I've really enjoyed it. It makes sharpening my chisels really quick. I keep my chisels in a drawer over there. Again, not going to show you drawers. I have some books up here just in case I need to learn some things. I need to learn a lot, but also some around the house stuff like basic electrical, basic plumbing, things like that. Over here in this corner, this is just yard stuff, and you can see from the garage what you would end up seeing if you walked in through the garage door. I've tried to put all the yard stuff so that it's easily accessible from the garage side, so you don't have to go too far into the shop. That way, in case somebody else is working on the yard, or if I just want to access that stuff and not worry about what else is going on in the shop, I can easily do that over here. I also tried to minimize the footprint. That was part of this south wall design, and I was able to get most of it hanging. I have this Ryobi lawnmower, which is great because you can stack it up and it's battery powered, so gas isn't gonna like leak everywhere and ruin your day. So that has been a really good addition to this shop overall. All right, there we have it. That is my shop. Thanks for coming along. This has been a journey of 10 years making this shop into a place that isn't by any means perfect or anything someone would be like, wow, I need to have that shop. But it's a perfect shop for making, which is what I'm most excited about. It's comfortable, it has everything I want, and I'm glad you could be along here with me to check it out. If you could subscribe, that'd be amazing. Otherwise, I will see you again soon.